On this day in history, March 3rd, 1799, the Russo-Ottoman siege of Corfu ends with the surrender of the French garrison. Included in the following is an excerpt from the 1944 edition of the Encyclopedia Britannica going over the history of Corfu. In local tradition, Corcyra was the Homeric island of Scheria, the home of the Phoenicians. In early Greek times it was colonized from Corinth, but seems to have had earlier settlers from Eritrea. The position of Corcyra, on the highway between Greece and the West, favored rapid growth and freedom of action, and its people, contrary to the practice of Corinthian colonies, maintained an independent and even hostile attitude towards the mother city. In the early part of the 7th century, their fleets fought the first naval battle recorded in Greek history, about 664 BC. The Corinthian tyrant Periander, circa 600, governed Corcyra by deputy, and induced it to join in the colonization of Apollonia and Anacatorium. But the island regained its independence and devoted itself to purely mercantile policy. During the Persian invasion of 480, it manned 60 ships, but took no active part. In 435, in a quarrel with Corinth, it sought assistance from Athens. This was one of the chief immediate causes of the Peloponnesian War, in which Corcyra was of considerable use to the Athenians as a naval station and a base for supplies, though it was twice nearly lost to Athens by internal feuds. On each occasion, 427 and 425, the popular party ultimately won. After a third abortive rising in 410, it passed out of the war. In 375, a fresh Athenian alliance resulted in hostilities with Sparta. In the Hellenistic period, Corcyra was besieged by Cassander, and occupied in turn by Agathocles Pyrrhus and Illyrian corsairs. From these last, in 229, it was delivered by the Romans, who retained it as a naval base and made it a free state. In 31 BC, Octavian used it as a base against Antony, but his victory foundation, Nicopolis, soon outrivaled it, and Corcyra for long passed out of notice. With the rise of the Norman kingdom in Sicily and the Italian naval powers, Corcyra became a frequent object of attack. In 1081 to 1085 it was held by Robert Guiscard, in 1147 to 1154 by Roger II of Sicily, in 1197 to 1207 by Genovese privateers who were expelled by the Venetians. In 1214 to 1259 it passed to the Greek despots of Epirus, and in 1267 to the Neapolitan house of Anjou. Under this weak rule the island suffered from various adventurers. In 1386 it placed itself under the protection of Venice, and in 1401 under its formal sovereignty. Corcyra remained in Venetian hands till 1797, though several times attacked by the Turks, with notable sieges in 1536 and 1716 to 1718. Under Venetian feudalism, the island took the new name of Corfu. The Corfiotes were encouraged to cultivate the olive, but were debarred from commercial competition with Venice. The island served as a refuge for Greek scholars from Turkish conquests, and in 1732 became the home of the first academy of modern Greece. But no serious impulse to Greek thought came from this quarter. By the Treaty of Campo Formio, Corfu was ceded to the French, until they were expelled by a Russo-Turkish armament, 1799. For a short time it became the capital of the self-governing Federation of the Heptanissos, 7 islands. In 1807 its faction-ridden government was again replaced by a French administration, and in 1809 it was attacked by a British fleet. By the Treaty of Paris of November 5, 1815, the Ionian Islands were placed under the protectorate of Great Britain, and Corfu became the seat of the British High Commissioner. Though the native Senate and Assembly were retained, British administration improved conditions, but its strictness displeased the natives, and in 1864 Corfu was ceded with the other Ionian Islands to the Kingdom of Greece, in accordance with the wishes of the inhabitants. Although the neutralization of Corfu was maintained after the Balkan Wars, its military importance grew so greatly during World War I, after the Serbian retreat across Albania, that the French, ignoring a Greek protest, landed there on January 11, 1916. They were followed by the first detachment of retreating Serbs 4 days later, and by February 10th, some 75,000 Serbian troops, as well as Montenegrin soldiers, had been landed in the island, whither on the previous day the Serbian government had transported its seat, and where, on September 10th, the Serbian parliament met in the theater. In July 1917, the Pact of Corfu was signed, which proclaimed the union of the Yugoslavs. On October 27, 1923, the Italian delegate for the delimitation of the Albanian frontier, General Tellini, was assassinated at Cracovia. There was no proof that the assassins were Greek, but Signor Mussolini held the Hellenic government responsible and sent an Italian fleet to Corfu, which bombarded the town and killed several Greek and Armenian refugees. After extracting from Greece 50 million lira as an indemnity, the Italians evacuated Corfu. In World War II, the island was bombed heavily by the Italians. It fell to the Germans during the Balkan Campaign of April 1941.